Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 25th of April and I welcome you all at the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video, and in this video we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We'll take all the articles with the relevant background, we'll understand the conceptual aspect, and if there is any way forward in articles, that also we are going to see. And before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this session from our Telegram channel. The link for Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube. Now, before starting guys, let me show you the overview of entire newspaper so that you can understand that which articles are actually important and what is the placement of that article. But I insist that please buy a copy of the Hindu newspaper, okay? If you want to go in detail, okay, because on the channel we just share the explainer notes. Fine. Now starting up, so first article guys, here we can see the amendment braces to evacuate nationals from Sudan. So guys, we have seen that since 15th of April there is the crisis going on in Sudan, where different factions of the military, they are fighting with each other, and in this there are many different countries, citizens, nationals that have been struck there. So in this particular capacity, the countries are taking the initiatives to rescue them, and even India has also started the Operation Kaveri. India has started the Operation Kaveri. Okay, but you are not required to go and track this much thing, that actually how many Indians are stuck there, how many of them have been rescued. These numbers and day-to-day developments are not important for our examination. But guys, understand this particular thing, that India has always been the first responder to any country which have been hit in crisis, be it Sudan, be it any other country, be it geopolitical dispute, be it natural calamity or anything. Okay. Then further moving on, after death of two cheetahs, MP seeks new site for the felines. So guys, we have seen this thing, that recently cheetah reintroduction happened in Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. In total 20 cheetahs have been brought from Africa. Okay, 12 cheetahs, we see this thing, that the 8 cheetahs have been brought from Namibia, and then 12 cheetahs were brought from South Africa. Now understand this particular thing guys, that when we talk about the cheetahs in India cheetah got extincted in 1950s, okay, and now we have translocated the African cheetah to India, and this is the first such type of transcontinental transfer of cheetah that has happened. Now out of the 20 cheetahs, we have seen that the 2 cheetahs have died in 1 month only. Now why this particular issue is happening? Because they are not able to adapt with the new environment. Moreover, the authorities in the Kuno National Park, they have said that some of these cheetahs need to be shifted at some other place. Okay, just that's it. Nothing beyond that is important. Then PM Modi sets the tone for BJP's electoral battle in Kerala. Not important articles guys for exam. Then we have the advertisements, political articles, and here in the city section we have the regional political articles that are given. Okay, no need to go here for your examination. Moreover, if you are having some different edition of Hindu newspaper, for example Hyderabad edition or Bengaluru edition or any other, this regional section will be different, but largely it contains the regional political issues, law and order related things, advertisements, etc. So we will be skipping it. We don't have much important thing here. Fine. And here we directly reach to the editorial page. Now on editorial page, the first article talking about gubernatorial inaction, that is the governor not taking action on the bills. We'll see this particular article as what it is talking about. Now warless Punjab. Now this article is talking about this article is talking about the arrest of the Amritpal Singh, who was basically who had preached the Khalistan agenda in the past few days, and also there was a lot of law and order problem that got created because of the Amritpal Singh's agenda. Now he got arrested. Now the article is talking about this particular thing, that why so much of time has been taken in responding to this particular crisis and all such kind of things. Now the article is not containing much of academic substance for our examination, so I'll not suggest you to go and read this particular article too much. Then Indian diplomacy and horses of interest, morality. We'll see this particular article guys with respect to the exam as what it is talking about. Then batting for borrowers, penal levy on loan defaulters should not be usurious. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that many people take loan, but sometimes they are not able to pay their EMI on time, and because of that very hefty fines and penalties are imposed on such people. Now, Reserve Bank of India is saying that when you are imposing the penalties, that should be to deter them or to make them regularized in terms of making their payments. The penalties should not become the source of revenue for the banks. The penalty should not become in itself a kind of a income for the banks. So very high penalties, such things should not be imposed. Such kind of thing has been given here. Then moving to the next page, the many benefits of marriage equality. We'll see this particular article briefly with respect to the examination. Then guys, further moving on, LI's stop push for flexible working hours. Okay. Now guys, here in this particular article, we see this particular thing that the Tamil Nadu government is proposing a legislation. They are trying to change the Factories Act and is trying to come out with the flexible working hours. Okay. Then further moving on, Karnataka lags in social measures rank worsened in the recent years. Okay. So guys, the article is talking about the indicators for the Karnataka. Women who ever attended the school, what is the Karnataka's rank? Women aged 20-24 years, married before 18 years of age, all these things have been given. Now guys, you are not required to go and track every of the data with respect to the Karnataka state. Why? Because in UPSC examination, state specific data etc. are not asked. However, if you are preparing for the Karnataka PCS exam, then you can see it, but not for the UPSC exam. Not that much important. Then text and the context page we have, and on text and context page, the first article, the Wagner Group's actions in Africa. So we'll understand that what is this Wagner Group, what is the agenda of this Wagner Group, what is up to in Africa, and all those things we'll see. But one more thing guys, you need to read this article very selectively. Why? Because this article is talking about a mercenary group which is operative in Africa. We are not required to go too much in deep in that particular thing, but what broadly it is, what it is agenda, that thing we need to see. Okay, so then further moving on, how to check relative humidity on a hot day to keep yourself cool. We'll see this particular article also with respect to the exam point of view. Then further moving on, Pooch attackers not traced. Here, court reschedules plea for independent investigation into Atiq Ahmed's murder. Okay, all these things have been given. Okay, Supreme Court seeks report from Calcutta High Court on judge giving TV interview. So the reports have come about a High Court judge giving interviews. Now it has been said that such kind of a things should not happen. That a sitting judge commenting on a kind of an ongoing case. Then further moving on, here there is one important article. Nuclear liability issue yet not resolved. So we will see the issue between India and France with respect to the nuclear plant at Jaipur. Okay, we will understand what is this entire controversy all about. Then the side article here, demystifying Keshwaranda Bharti case, web page dwells deep into history. So Keshwaranda Bharti case was settled in 1973. It is also called as the fundamental rights case. Keshwaranda Bharti case had imposed certain limitations on the amending power of the parliament. It provided that the parliament, though has been given the authority to amend the constitution under Article 368, so under Article 368, the Parliament can amend constitution, but it cannot amend certain parts, that is the basic structure of the constitution. So basic structure doctrine was given in the Keshwaranda Bharti case. In the recent few months, we have seen that many of the leaders have questioned also the Keshwaranda Bharti case. They have said that it has tried to dilute the parliamentary sovereignty also. And moreover, at the time when the Keshwaranda Bharti case was, the verdict was given at that point of time also in 1973, many political controversies happened at that point of a time as well. Now, what has happened? The Supreme Court has created an entire dedicated web page about the Keshwaranda Bharti case, the submissions that were given, the judgment that was given, the arguments, counter arguments, everything that was made during the Keshwaranda Bharti case hearing. So that dedicated web page has been developed here. Then further moving on, India, China hold frank and in-depth talks. Now guys, here we see this particular thing that recently the 18th round of talks between senior military commanders were held. Okay. Now, basically we see this thing that after 2020, the Chinese aggression around the line of actual control has increased, and we have seen that on the Galwan Valley there were the disputes, skirmishes that happened. After that particular thing, we have seen that many of the patrolling points that were earlier under the control of the India, now China is trying to exert their control on the patrolling points. So on LAC, there are a lot of encroachment by the China that has been done towards the Indian side. So to resolve that particular encroachment issue, India and the China are holding these military commander level talks, and from time to time they happen. and every time there is only one agenda, that is how peacefully this particular situation can be can be solved. Okay, now understand this particular thing, guys, that actually you are not required to track every military commander level talk, because when a final breakthrough etc will come, or in which direction this entire dispute is moving, that is which is more important. Then further moving on, vibrant village plan to be merged with the PM Gati Shakti. We'll see this article. Then guys, 100 crore people have tuned into Man Ki Baat study. Okay, so Man Ki Baat is a monthly broadcast by the Prime Minister, where Prime Minister shares some key ideas. Okay, so 100 crore people have tuned in. Okay, not very much important for the examination, but just a fact. Then further moving on, Patna High Court relief for Rahul in Modi surname case. Then Supreme Court transfers all FIR against comedian Farooqi to Indore. Not important article for examination. Then guys, malaria said to be a notifiable disease. Now what is a notifiable disease? Malaria is said to be a notifiable disease. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Then here there is one article, new IT rules do not offer protection to parody or satire High Court. Okay, so guys, understand this particular thing, that IT rules 2021. IT rules 2021 was brought, which tries to regulate the OTT platforms, digital news, as well as the social media intermediaries. Now it has been said that many number of times some parodies, okay, some roast etc are made. Okay, uh, can they not be challenged? Okay, or can they be challenged? So it has been said that they don't offer any protection to them. Okay, then further moving to the world page, after dispute, Beijing says it honors sovereignty of the states. Now guys, here we see this particular thing, that when we talk about the China always interferes in the internal matters, let's say it be Taiwan. Moreover guys, recently we have seen this particular thing, that recently the China has also issued the Chinese names of the places in Arunachal Pradesh. But Beijing always say this particular thing, that we respect the sovereignty of the state. Okay, now this is something guys that actually had happened, and such kind of stance have also been kept forward now in the case of the France. Then further moving on, Bangladesh list out its priorities for Indo-Pacific. We'll see this article. Then further moving on to the business page, and on the business page, Adani Ports begins bond buyback. Then there are the corporate trades etc that has been given. Okay, now you are not required to go too much in detail in the corporate articles and all such kind of things for your exam point of view. Okay, and now guys, let's discuss the relevant articles one by one in detail. Now starting up, so in every class we start with the GS quotation. So today we are going to start with the quotation from Martin Luther King Jr., the civil right activist from US. So he says that the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, unethical, immoral people, but the silence over that by the good people. Okay, so many you see, bad people, unethical people, immoral people, they are afflicting cruelties, they are doing certain things, but many times even the good people are looking, good people are not taking stand, good people are not fighting for the cause of justice. So when good people are indifferent, when they are not fighting for the cause of the justice, that is the real tragedy, that is the real concern which should be addressed. So this particular idea we can use for GS paper number 4 ethics, GS paper number 4 ethics, as well as in essay we can use this particular quote, this particular idea. So that is all about it guys. And now moving to the next article. Okay, so first of all, let's see the heading of the article, let's understand the utility of this article, and then I'll go in the detail of this particular article. So the article talks about how to check relative humidity on a hot day to keep yourself cool. Now this particular article guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 1, geographical phenomena, GS paper number 1, geographical phenomena, even GS paper number 3, climate change, GS paper number 3, climate change, environment, we will see this particular article. Why? Because guys, humidity that has increased, it is directly an outcome of the climate change that is happening, the temperatures that are rising, it directly is leading to increase in the relative humidity, and how that particular thing can lead to mortality, morbidity in the humans, that is something we are going to understand this thing. Now, first of all guys, before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you that this article is going in too much of the hairline detail. For example, how to measure relative humidity, what are the methods of measuring relative humidity. Okay, you can measure it on application, you can measure it by the thermometer. Such methodologies, etc., we are not required to go in detail for our examination. Now, before starting this particular article, guys, let me explain you some of the basic concepts. First thing is that what is actually the humidity. So, and why humidity is important, we'll understand this thing. Humidity is the amount of moisture that is there in the air. Okay, humidity is the amount of moisture that is there in the air. Now, when we talk about the humidity, humidity can be measured in three ways. Number one, there can be the absolute humidity. Absolute humidity. What is absolute humidity? It is measuring the absolute amount of humidity in a given volume of air. So, in a given packet of air, even in a given volume of air, what is the absolute amount of humidity is present? We call it as an absolute humidity. It is expressed as okay, in this unit. Then the second is specific humidity. Now, what is specific humidity, guys? Specific humidity is presented in the form of a ratio, and it is the ratio of moisture divided by the mass of air. Okay, so in comparison to the air, what is the ratio of the moisture? If we calculate that, we get the specific humidity. So it is equal to the mass of moisture divided by the mass of air. Okay, but for the practical purposes, we are not that much concerned about the absolute humidity or specific humidity. We are more concerned about the relative humidity. This is the most important that you need to understand. What is relative humidity? It is the amount of vapor that air can hold at a different temperature. Okay, now let me explain you this thing. Basically, guys, the carrying capacity of the air to hold the moisture is different at different temperature. Understand this thing. The cool air will be able to hold less moisture, but hot air will be able to hold more moisture. So as the temperature of the air packet will increase, its carrying capacity to hold the moisture will also increase. Now, what is relative humidity? Relative humidity is that how much saturation is there in the air compared to its carrying capacity. For example, if relative humidity is 60%, if relative humidity is 60%, it means that 60% carrying capacity of the air has been reached. Okay. Now, let me explain this particular thing with a simple example, even if it is not clear. Suppose at 30 degrees Celsius, the air can carry 100 unit of moisture. Suppose the temperature increased to 40 degrees Celsius. Now, as air is becoming more hot, the carrying capacity of moisture will also increase. So, at 40 degrees Celsius, it will be able to hold, let's say, 150 unit of moisture. Now, guys, suppose at this particular level 1, 30 degrees Celsius, when it can actually hold the 100 unit, suppose it can hold 100 unit, but right now the moisture unit that are available is 50. So, what is relative humidity? Relative humidity is 50%. Relative humidity is 50%. Suppose now the temperature increased 40 degrees Celsius. Now the carrying capacity has increased 150 units, because I told you as the air will become more hot, it will be able to carry more moisture. So 40 degrees Celsius, now the carrying capacity is 150 units. But suppose that actual humidity is still 50 only. Now, what is the percentage? What is the relative humidity? That is 33%. 33%. Okay. So, what is relative humidity? Relative humidity, fine. It is the amount of vapor that air can hold at different temperatures, and relative humidity is that how much saturated the air is at this particular present point of time. That is relative humidity. Now, the question comes that why relative humidity matters? Why relative humidity matters? Now, guys, I will explain you this particular concept with the help of some analogies. Now, let's try to understand it. See, when we talk about the humans, humans have a particular range of tolerance. They have a particular range of tolerance. Now, understand this particular thing. Let's suppose you have a machine. If you expose that particular machine to very high temperatures, that machine will not be able to function. In the same way, humans are also a kind of machine. There is only a particular range of temperature that we can tolerate. If the temperature will go beyond that, we will not be able to tolerate. Now, even guys, the computers, they have a cooling mechanism in that. They have a fan. If temperature will increase, if they will become very hot, they will switch on that particular fan and the heat will be dissipated. Now, how the human machinery will work? So human have sweat based cooling mechanism. Now, what is this sweat based cooling mechanism? Understand this particular thing. Suppose the temperature is increasing. Okay, now what will happen? My body will produce the sweat, and when this particular sweat will evaporate from my body, it will capture the heat along with that, and it will leave a cooling sensation. Now I will give you a very simple example to explain this particular thing. Suppose guys, you are taking a shower in a bathroom. You're taking a shower in a bathroom, and suppose this particular bathroom is enclosed from all the sides. Okay, now what happens? The moment you come out of that particular shower, what you find that suddenly you feel cool. Why? Because when you stepped out of the bathroom, your entire body was wet, and now the moisture on this particular body, it is trying to evaporate, and when it will evaporate, it will capture the heat from your body, and as it is capturing the heat, it is leaving a cooling sensation on your body, and you will feel cool. So in the same way, when the body's temperature will increase, our body will produce sweat. That sweat will evaporate, and as that sweat will evaporate, it will take the heat and our body will cool down. This is the way the human body cools itself. Now guys, understand this particular thing. In this context, relative humidity matters. Relative humidity matters. How relative humidity matters? Let's understand this thing. I will again go to this particular example. So you might have experienced this particular thing, that when you are in a bathroom and let's say it is closed from all the sides, your body is wet, but you don't feel cold. Why? Because guys, understand this thing, that when you are having a shower in this particular closed bathroom, the air in this particular bathroom has become 100% saturated. What has happened? So much moisture is there in this particular air that actually the water that is there on your skin, it is not able to evaporate. Understand this particular thing? If the water has to evaporate from your skin, it needs a space in the air. It needs a space in the air. But in bathroom, the air is already saturated. Okay, so the water cannot evaporate from your body. But when you come out of the bathroom, here the air is not that much saturated, and here the air is not that much saturated, so the water can evaporate from your skin very easily, and therefore you feel cooling sensation. So if more humidity is already in the system, we will not be able to cool down ourselves. The sweat will not be able to evaporate. Now understand this thing guys, as temperature are increasing and as relative humidity is increasing. Suppose relative humidity is 90%. Relative humidity is 90%. It simply means that already the air is saturated to the point of 90%. So the sweat will not be able to evaporate. And when the sweat will not be able to evaporate, we will not be able to cool ourselves. And when we will not be able to cool ourselves, the human body will not be able to function. The humans will die because of the heat strokes, because of the heat stress, etc. Okay, this is going to be a very big problem. So basically guys, this entire mechanism has been explained in this particular paragraph also. Fine. So our body uses sweat to cool itself. The liquid evaporates, and when that liquid evaporates, it takes the heat from the surface of our body. We feel cool. Okay. But when the humidity is very high, the sweat will not be able to leave our body, and because of that particular thing, there will be uneasiness, there will be heat stress, etc. that will increase. People have to use the air conditioners. Now just I want to explain the implication of this particular thing guys. There is a concept I want to explain you. See, there is dry bulb temperature, and then there is wet bulb temperature. Now what is a dry bulb and what is a wet bulb? So suppose I have a thermometer here. I place this particular thermometer in the room, and there will be certain reading that will come on this particular thermometer. Suppose the temperature in this particular room is 40 degrees Celsius. So the reading here will show 40 degrees Celsius. So dry bulb temperature is to use a thermometer at a room to measure the temperature of that particular room. That is the dry bulb temperature. Then there also comes a wet bulb temperature. Now what do we mean by the wet bulb temperature, guys? I will place a thermometer in the same room, but now what I will do, I will wrap the bulb of this particular thermometer with a wet cloth. I will wrap the bulb of this particular thermometer with a wet cloth. Okay. Now guys, understand this particular thing. As this particular cloth is wet, the air will try to evaporate. The air will try to evaporate from this particular cloth. And as air will try to evaporate, it will need energy. And that energy it will need in the form of the heat. So what will happen? As the water will try to evaporate, it will steal the heat from this particular temperature. It will steal the heat from this particular temperature. And as it will steal the heat from this temperature, obviously what will happen? The reading will go down. The reading will go down. Now, understand this thing. In the same room, the dry bulb temperature could be 40 degrees Celsius, but the wet bulb temperature could be, let's say, 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, it was at 40 degree, but as the heat has been stolen by the moisture, it will go down 25 degrees Celsius. Now, we find that there will always be a difference between the dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature. Difference in this particular case is 15 degrees Celsius. 15 degrees Celsius is the temperature. Now, on the basis of this particular difference, we can actually derive the relative humidity that is there in that particular room. How? Guys, understand this particular thing. That if difference between the dry bulb and wet bulb is more, what it means? It means, now why that difference will be more? Difference will be more when more water has actually evaporated. And when more water will be able to evaporate? When there is more space in the air to accommodate the moisture. And when there will be more space to accommodate the moisture? Only when the air is not already saturated. Are you getting it or not? Now guys, understand this particular thing. Suppose these two temperatures, these two thermometers supposed are placed in that bathroom in which you have just taken a shower. Now you know that when you come out of a bathroom, you have taken a shower, there is a lot of moisture in that particular bathroom. So actually you will find that the difference will not be that much there. Why? Because guys, though the thermometer's bulb is wrapped with the cloth, but the water will not be able to evaporate, and as water will not be able to evaporate, it will not be able to steal the heat. So in that particular type of bathroom, the dry bulb temperature might be 40 degrees Celsius, wet bulb temperature might be just at 39 degrees Celsius, very close, means high humidity. Okay, if difference is very less, high humidity. If the difference is more, less humidity. So relative humidity can be measured by measuring the dry bulb and wet bulb temperature. Now guys, understand this particular thing. What has happened recently? IPCC. Now this is something which is not mentioned in the article, but I am explaining you because you will be able to make more sense of this article with this. Understand this thing. IPCC stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It released recently its sixth assessment report. And in this sixth assessment report, they have said this particular thing, that now around the world, wet bulb temperature is increasing. Around the world, now wet bulb temperature is increasing. What is the meaning of this wet bulb temperature? It means, see, dry bulb temperature, let's say, was 40 degrees Celsius earlier. Dry bulb temperature, let's say, was 40 degrees Celsius earlier, and wet bulb was, let's say, earlier used to be at 30 degree. Suppose a hypothetical example. Now it is increasing. It is increasing means it is going at somewhere 35, 36. Increasing means the difference between 40 and the difference between this is reducing. And when a difference reduces, it means that the humidity is increasing. Humidity is increasing. And when the humidity will increase, what problem will be there to the humans? Their sweat-based cooling system will fail. Our sweat will not be able to evaporate, and as our sweat will not be able to evaporate, we will not be able to cool down our bodies. Now, guys, one more concept I want to explain you here. Find the concept of heat index. The concept of heat index. Now, basically, if you have ever observed the temperature in any of the weather app on your mobile phone, you will find that on your mobile phone you find two type of temperatures. That is the actual temperature and what it feels like. What it feels like. It could be the case that actual temperature in your city is 40 degrees Celsius, but what it feels like, that temperature could be 45 degrees Celsius. That temperature could be 45 degrees Celsius. It means that actually temperature is 40, but you are feeling like that it is 45 degrees Celsius. Now, how this heat index, now what is heat index? Heat index is calculated by combining two things, that is temperature plus moisture. When we calculate temperature plus moisture together, we get the heat index, that is feels like temperature. Now guys, high temperature and high humidity, high moisture, high temperature and high moisture are very deadly combination. It is a very lethal combination. Now if I give you an example, a case study from Dahran, fine, Dahran, Saudi Arabia, what actually happened? So few years back, the dry bulb temperature was around 40 or 43 degrees Celsius, and the wet bulb temperature reached to 35 degrees Celsius. It means 35 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius means the humidity has increased, and the feel like temperature, how it feels like, that temperature reached to around 81 degrees Celsius. Okay, so point is that when temperature will increase, and along with that when humidity will increase, you will feel more uncomfortable, you will feel more uneasy, you will feel more heat. Okay, so understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the relative humidity, it needs to be in a particular range. For example, if relative humidity is between 30 to 60%, it is comfortable. If it will go below that, then you need to use humidifier. Okay, but if it goes beyond 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, it will mean a lot of unease. It will mean that many of the people who don't have AC, okay, they will not be able to survive. Now understand this particular thing. Already guys, we are emitting lot of carbon emissions. Okay, and because as we are increasing the carbon emission, temperature is going up. As temperature will go up, humidity will increase, and as humidity will increase, normal fan will not be able to provide you relief, normal coolers, water coolers will not be able to provide you relief. You need AC. Now if we will use AC, further electricity consumption will increase and the carbon emission will go up, then again more humidity. So a kind of a vicious circle will develop. Moreover, one more thing I want to tell you guys, as this humidity is increasing, vector borne diseases such as malaria, etc., they are also increasing. One more problem I want to tell you, see, only respite in high humidity is air conditioning, but what about the poor people who cannot afford the AC? What about them? Moreover, let's say there are some people who can afford the AC, but what about the erratic electricity supply? So this is actually a very, very big issue. Okay, now guys, in this particular article I have went little bit beyond the scope of this particular article, and I have explained you this thing very comprehensively. Now this particular article guys is actually also explaining the way, the formulas as how to calculate the relative humidity and all such kind of things. Now this is not important for your examination. So the things that were important but were not there in this article, we have explained that, and the things which are actually not important, you need to skip it. So that is all guys about it. I hope that you have got a fair idea. And now moving to the next article. Okay, so I think there is some kind of an editing issue that came in this particular article. So this particular article is about the Wagner Group. This particular article is about the Wagner Group, which is recently in the news. Now let's now this particular article guys will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international affairs. GS paper number 2, international affairs, we are going to see this particular article. Now let's before going in that, let me give you some of the background information first. Okay, now see this thing. I've told you in the overview that right now in Sudan there is a crisis going on, where the different factions of the military are fighting each other for the supremacy, and they are controlling the different regions. Now there are the reports that have come, and they say that actually Wagner Group is supporting the military crisis in Sudan. Now what is this Wagner Group? So basically guys, Wagner Group, it is a Russian paramilitary organization. Wagner Group is a Russian paramilitary organization which is headed by Yevgeny Prigozhin. Now one thing I want to tell you guys, that in the Russia, private militias private group of fighters, mercenaries, they are not allowed. But actually there are a lot of report which says this thing, that this Wagner Group, though legally not owned by Russia, but it is supported by the Russia. Moreover, in 2018, Mr. Putin said this particular thing, that they support the Wagner Group till the point Wagner Group is not breaking the Russian law. Okay, till that time they will support the Wagner Group. So by this particular statement of Putin and by the intelligence reports, it is being said that this Wagner Group is Russian sponsored militia group made up of fighters. It is a paramilitary group, and this particular group has been involved in a lot of counter militancy operations in Africa. Now guys, it has been said that this group is involved in regime change. Many number of times authoritarian systems that are there in many of the countries in Africa, they have been provided support by the Wagner Group. This Wagner Group has political, economic and military fields as well as interest. Okay, now moreover, it has been said that this particular group has supplied the arms, it has supplied weapons, also it has provided the training to the regional forces in fighting the jihadist threat. And this particular group has been active in Sudan, Mali, Central Africa, Mozambique, Libya, in all these particular country. And many number of times guys, it has been said that it also is involved in some of the proxy wars. Now here if you see the activities where the regions where the Wagner Group was active. So here we see this particular thing in the during the Crimean annexation, the Wagner Group played a very important role. Then guys, here we see this particular thing that in Syria, Libya, Mali, Mozambique, all of the places the Wagner Group has been very much active, and now it is being said that it is supporting the regimes in Sudan as well. Now the article is talking about this particular thing, that when we see this thing, African countries, they are becoming more and more dependent on the fighters of the Wagner Group. And one particular report of the United Nations have provided this particular thing, that this Wagner Group, okay, it has violently harassed people and have also committed the sexual violence in many of the countries of the Africa. Moreover, it is also being said that this is a kind of an unwanted interference in the affairs of the Africa by the Wagner Group, which is supported by Russia. Okay, it is a threat to the democratic governance in Africa. Moreover, when we talk about these mercenary group, these militia groups, in this particular context, the United Nations International Convention Against the Recruitment, Use, Financing and Training of Mercenaries is there. And this United Nations International Convention Against the Recruitment, Use, Finance and Training of Mercenaries, it provides this particular thing, that if any state, if any country is seeking the help of a mercenary group, if any state is seeking the help of such kind of a militia, then that particular state will be responsible for the activities of these mercenaries if they violate the international law, if they violate the human rights or any such kind of things. So let's say if Sudan is inviting this Wagner Group and these militias, fighters of the Wagner Group violate any human right in Sudan, then the government needs to take the responsibility. So this is all about this particular entire issue. Okay, so guys, I hope you have understood it, but one more thing I want to tell you, beyond that, please don't go in this particular article, don't go and do the PhD of this particular thing. Fine, for your examination, that is not important. Okay, because guys, when we talk about these kind of concepts, fine, the question will not be asked in the mains examination that please write a note on Wagner Group. There can be the question that recently Wagner Group was in news, and that too in the prelims examination. They will give you the broad option that what is this Wagner Group? An informal group of lenders. Wagner Group responsible for the development of Africa, made up of European countries. It is a militia, or such kind of options can be there. Now, moving to next article. Nuclear liability issue not yet resolved for Jatpur project, French firm EDF. Nuclear liability issue not yet resolved for Jatpur project. Now, this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 3, power infrastructure. GS paper number 3, power infrastructure. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that as we are moving towards the scale of development, reliable, regular and affordable electricity is very important for any country's development. But as of now, when we talk about the majority of India's electricity around 51% of India's electricity come from coal thermal power plants. It come from the coal thermal power plants. And we are trying to tap the renewable energies. We are trying to tap the renewable energy such as the solar energy, hydel energy, wind energy. But they have their own problems. They have their own problems. For example, land availability is a very big problem. Okay. Then many number of times, guys, when we talk about the hydropower, okay, it can only be deployed in a specific geographical regions. Okay, and in solar and wind, the land availability is a very big problem. Okay, so therefore, there comes a solution that what about the nuclear power? What about the nuclear electricity? Right now, guys, just 2% of India's electricity come from the nuclear power plants. Okay, now first of all, around the world, there is a mixed response towards the nuclear power plants. Countries such as Japan, they want to abandon the nuclear power plants because the Fukushima disaster that happened after that, they are very much apprehensive to that. But some countries are embracing more and more nuclear power plants. Now, in India, guys, there is this Jatpur project. Now, there is this particular Jatpur nuclear power project. Now, when we talk about, guys, this Jatpur nuclear power project, okay, this particular project is in the Maharashtra, and this is right now the world's biggest nuclear power project that is under negotiation. This Jatpur nuclear power project will be generating 9900 megawatt of electricity once it is completed and once it is operational. At its peak, it will generate 9900 megawatt of electricity, Jatpur. Now, this Jatpur nuclear power project is being equipment and technical assistance is being provided by the France. It is being provided by the France. But there are many disputes that have come in this particular Jatpur nuclear power project. Because of this particular dispute, this particular project has been hanged, it is hanging in limbo. This particular project has not been able to see the day of light. Let's understand that what are the problems. Very first problem that comes in this nuclear Jatpur power project is the nuclear liability issue. Now, what is this nuclear liability issue? Basically, guys, nuclear liability, what is this particular issue? Suppose there is a nuclear power plant. There is a nuclear power plant. Now, you might have heard about the Chernobyl incident, fine, that happened into the Soviet Russia, where a nuclear power plant meltdown happened, where thousands and thousands of people died because of the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl nuclear plant. What if some such kind of incident happened again? If a nuclear power plant fails, if some disaster happens, nuclear radiations will spread to hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. Many people will die immediately, and many people will develop lifelong disease problems. Fine, these are the things. So, there needs to be a kind of a liability. There needs to be a kind of a liability clause. Okay, somebody needs to pay the compensation in such kind of an accident. Okay, so therefore, there is that particular issue. And to resolve this thing, that if an accident is if there is an accident, who will pay? Government of India had come out with the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. Okay, one more thing. This detail is not provided in the article, guys. So please hear it carefully, or please download these notes. Okay. So as per the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act of 2010, it is provided that the operator of a nuclear installation who is operating a plant will be held liable if any nuclear damage, if any nuclear accident or a meltdown of a plant happens. Now, who is the operator of a nuclear power plant in India? That is NPCIL. That is Nuclear Power Corporation India Limited. NPCIL is operator. It is a government entity. But then there is one more provision. The law also provides that the operator can seek compensation from the supplier of the nuclear equipment. Okay, means suppose a nuclear accident happens, NPCIL has to pay the compensation, but NPCIL can recover it from the supplier of the nuclear equipment. And in this Jatpur, who is the supplier of nuclear equipment? It is France. So they can recover that particular money from the France. Now, guys, the France has a problem with this. France has the problem number one, that you are putting the entire burden on the faulty equipment. There can also be the problem of an operator who was not able to operate it properly. Why you are putting all the responsibility on us? Number one. Number two, France has one more problem. France had said this particular thing, that it can actually become a template that will be adopted by other countries. If we paid India, then other countries also which have a nuclear plant, who have taken the equipment from France, they will also ask such kind of treatment. So therefore, France is not ready to pay, but India wants that you should pay. So there is this particular dispute that was going on between India and France on this particular nuclear liability. Now guys, what has happened in 2018? In 2018, India and France both signed an agreement and provided that what we will do, we will pool some money will be pooled by India, some money will be pooled by France, and a nuclear insurance pool will be created. Okay, we will we will take an insurance out of it, an insurance pool will be made, and if any accident happen, the money will be given by this particular insurance pool, and the premium money will be pooled by both India and France. So France agreed with that particular thing, that okay, we will support it. Okay, so this is one big dispute that was there between the India and France on the nuclear power. Then there is a second one more dispute that is there, that is the high cost of power per unit. High cost of power per unit. So per unit electricity cost is coming high, which is making this particular project unattractive. Fine. So these particular issues are to be resolved, and they are being resolved step by step. So guys, recently what has happened? Recently, France had said this particular thing, that a nuclear liability issue is not fully resolved, though we have agreed to this new insurance pool. India has also provided it, but still there are certain issues, irritants that have to be addressed. Okay, so this is something that has been provided in this particular article. Now moving to the next article. Pending bills, the issue of gubernatorial inaction. Pending bill, the issue of gubernatorial inaction. Now this particular article, guys, will be important for GS paper number 2, issues related to polity. Now guys, in the past few months, we have seen that the dispute between elected state governments and governor has increased a lot. Few months back, we have seen that the governor of Tamil Nadu made one address in the assembly of Tamil Nadu, and he dropped some of the references from the speech that was actually earlier approved by the cabinet of Tamil Nadu. And as governor dropped certain references from the speech, the Tamil Nadu government, the cabinet, they criticized the governor walked out of the house. And many other instances have happened where openly the governor had criticized the government and government has criticized the governor. Many such disputes have actually increased. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that what has happened recently, what has actually happened recently. Recently, the Tamil Nadu government, okay, recently what has happened, Tamil Nadu government, or we can say that Tamil Nadu assembly, recently Tamil Nadu assembly has passed a resolution where they have asked the President of India that President of India needs to fix a timeline. President of India needs to fix a timeline within which the governor needs to clear the bill. Now, when any bill is passed by the state assembly, that particular bill, for example, if it is a bicameral house in the state, then Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad both needs to clear that particular bill. Or if it is a unicameral, then the state legislative assembly needs to clear a bill. Bill will go to the governor. Then governor, under the provision of Article 200, under the provision of Article 200, what governor can do? Just a minute. So under the provisions of the Article 200, what governor can do? Number one, government can give the assent to this particular bill, that okay, the bill is clear, and then that particular bill will become an act. Second, governor can withhold the assent. Now, what is the meaning of the withholding? Withholding assent, governor says that I will not give the assent. Fine. Then that particular bill will end. And then third option is sending it back to the assembly to reconsider. If fine, that this particular bill you reconsider it, then the assembly will send that bill back again to the president. Okay, it will send a bill back to the assembly. Assembly will then send it back to the governor, and then the governor should pass it. Or what can happen? The governor can send the bill to the president for the reconsideration. So these four options are there with the governor. Number one, it can give assent. Number two, it can withhold the assent. Number three, can send back the bill to assembly or send bill to the president for the reconsideration. But guys, nowhere it is mentioned that the governor can sit on this particular bill. Nowhere it is mentioned that the governor can sit on the bill. Okay. Okay, but what has happened over the past few years, we have seen this particular thing, that governor, when the bill is passed to the governor, governor doesn't takes any decision. Neither governor gives the assent, nor governor withholds the assent, nor governor returns that particular bill. Governor just keeps that particular bill in the pocket. Now, how this particular power is coming to the governor? This power is coming because in the Constitution of India, there is no timeline. There is no timeline within which the governor needs to give the approval to a bill. And as there is no particular timeline that has been given, so therefore the governor is trying to take advantage of that particular thing. So therefore, now what has happened? Now what has happened? Just a minute. Now what has happened? So the Tamil Nadu Assembly, they have asked the Tamil Nadu Assembly, what they have done, they have asked the President of India that President should fix a timeline. That President should fix a timeline in which the governor should give the assent to the bill. Okay. Now, how the Assembly can pass a resolution in this particular respect? How it can pass a resolution in this particular respect? So you need to know about the Article 355 of the Indian Constitution. So Article 355 provides that it will be the duty of the Union, to ensure that the government of every state is being carried in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Okay, so it will be the responsibility of Union. Now, the article is saying this particular thing, that when the bill has been passed by the Assembly and when the bill has been given to the governor and governor is not giving any decision on that particular bill, the constitutional breakdown is happening. And as this constitutional breakdown is happening, the state government can send a resolution, can call for some interference by the Union or by the President. So therefore, now what has happened, by using the Article 355, the Assembly of the Tamil Nadu has passed a resolution and has asked the President of India that please fix some kind of timeline. Please fix some kind of timeline. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now, the article is saying this particular thing, that sitting on a bill, not clearing that particular bill, this particular option was never envisaged by the Constitution of India. Fine, this particular option was never envisaged by the Constitution of India. Moreover, if you remember guys, I told you that under Article 200, when a state legislative assembly passes a bill and when that particular bill goes to the governor, governor has four options. Number one, I told you, give assent. Good. Withhold assent. Now, withholding assent means governor says that I will not give an assent and then that particular bill will end. So even this withholding an assent, governor not giving an assent, refusing an assent. Now, this particular thing also is controversial. And in this particular capacity, there is Article 154. Now, Article 154, now, first of all, let me explain you the controversy. Controversy is that in this option number 2, withholding the assent, can governor exercise the discretionary power that on his own wish and whims and fancies, governor will say that no, I will not give assent. Is there a discretionary power in this particular respect? So here we have Article 154. Article 154 says that governor can exercise his executive power only on the advice of the Council of Ministers. So here also he can withhold the assent only when the cabinet will recommend the governor. Only when cabinet will recommend the governor. Okay. Now, in this particular capacity, guys, there is one particular judgment that you needed to see. That is the Hoist Pharmaceutical Limited judgment. Now, this particular judgment deals with the power of governor to reserve a bill for the reconsideration of the president. Now, in this particular judgment, that is the Hoist Pharmaceutical judgment, it has been provided by the court that the governor can reserve a bill for consideration of president in his discretion. So, when discretionary power is concerned, governor discretionary power is only in the matter when he want to reserve the bill for president. In other matter, he need to do as what the cabinet is recommending. So even he cannot withhold the assent as a part of his discretionary power. This has been given. Now, the article is talking about this particular thing, that actually the framers of the constitution, they never expected that governor will sit on the bill indefinitely. Okay, now the time has come that we need to fix the timeline in which the governor should clear the bill. So this is the entire gist of this particular article. Guys, I hope that you have understood it. And now we'll move to next article. Okay, the many benefits of marriage equality. The many benefits of marriage equality. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 1, social issues. GS paper number 1, social issues, Indian society. Now, first of all, guys, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly from the past few days, you already might be knowing this particular article. Even we have discussed it so many of the times. So basically, guys, what this article is actually talking about, see, right now, section 377 of the Indian Penal Code has been decriminalized. Section 377 talked about the homosexuality, and section 377 actually criminalized the homosexuality. Same sex relation, that is a sexual relation between man and a female and female, were criminalized by the section 377. But now it has got decriminalized by the Navtej Singh Johar judgment of Supreme Court. Now, after this, the same-sex couples, the homosexual people, they want to, they want that they should be allowed to get married also. Okay, so what has happened? They have demanded that within the provision of the Special Marriage Act, same-sex couple should be allowed to get married. This is the matter that is going on. Okay. Fine, within the this particular, they should be allowed to get married. Now the Supreme Court is hearing this particular matter, and in few days time Supreme Court will finally give the decision that whether they can be allowed to get married or they cannot be allowed to get married. Now till then, guys, these editorials are coming. Now this particular editorial, you are not required to go too much in detail, because final thing will only come when the Supreme Court will give the judgment. Now this particular editorial is supporting the idea that there is no problem in allowing the same-sex couples to get married. They're saying this particular thing, that allowing them to get married or giving the equality, okay, giving the equality will bring a sense of belongingness for the LGBTQ couples. So right now, heterosexual couples can marry, homosexual couple cannot marry. It is inequality. When we will make both them equal, that both homosexual and heterosexual couple can marry, this particular thing will give a kind of a belongingness to the LGBT couple. Now it has been said, basically, what is the opposition? Why they are not being allowed to get married? It is being said that a marriage is actually a union between a man and a woman only. Marriage is a union between a man and a woman only. They have said this particular thing. Moreover, it has been said that if we will allow the homosexual people to get married, LGBT couple to get married, it will distort the concept of marriage. Now the article is saying that if we allow the LGBT couple to get married, how it will take anything away from the heterosexual couples? Heterosexual couples, they are getting married. If homosexuals are also allowed, what they will take from the heterosexual couples? How they will disturb the equity? All these things are there. Now it is being provided that actually marriage is an institution which provide a lot of tangible and intangible benefit to the people who have been married with each other. Now tangible means the benefit which clearly are visible. So what are the tangible benefit? Number one, if the two people have got married, they can open a joint bank account, they can jointly buy or rent a property, they can jointly own the financial assets, they can be basically two people, they can be recognized as relatives under the Income Tax Act. They can also access the spouse's health and life insurance. For example, suppose a wife has a health insurance, that wife's health insurance benefit can also be taken by the husband. This benefit they can take. Then there are the intangible benefits such as gaining legitimacy. Okay, so two people, let's say homosexual or heterosexual, if two heterosexual people are even there, man and a woman living together but not married, that relation is not seen as a legitimate relation. But after once they have got married, the relation gets legitimacy. So legitimacy, respect, affection from the society, okay, all these things are there. Now the article is saying that the Supreme Court already decriminalized section 377 in the Navtej Singh Johar case. Now the article is saying that now the time has come that the same sex couples should also be allowed to get married. Why that particular thing? What had happened? The homosexual couples will get a many rights in respect to each other. Article is saying that many of the corporates, HR principles, human resources principles, okay, or human in the HR policies, they are applying the fairness, equality and non-discrimination to the LGBT. They are giving the equal opportunity to LGBT. There are the anti-discrimination policies with respect to the LGBT that are there in the corporates. Okay, so when they are there, why the government is not bringing that? If basically it has also been provided, fine. that if these homosexual couples are allowed to get married, okay, as they will be the legal spouses of each other, they will also get the benefit in insurance policies also, as I have given you the example of the health insurance. So there is no harm in allowing them to allowing them to get married. So this is which has been provided in this article. Then moving to the next article, Indian diplomacy, Indian diplomacy and the horses of interest, morality. Okay. Now, guys, this particular article is just, there is just a kind of an opinion that you need to see in this article. Now, see what actually happened. So, recently, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, International Affairs. So, recently, what happened? Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. Recently, Ukraine's first Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs visited India, and when he went back, he basically said this particular thing, he tweeted this particular thing, that there is a wide variance between India's desire to be a moral teacher and cold pursuit of interest. Now see this thing. What this Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine said, they said that on one hand, India is trying to become a Vishwa Guru, India is trying to become a moral teacher when it is teaching the moral lessons to the world country. But when it comes to the India, India is not taking a tough stand against Russia. Why India is not taking a tough stand against Russia? Because India's geostrategic interests are involved. So it is saying that India, now the message that was given by him was that there is a variance, there is a difference between India's desire to be a moral teacher and pursuit of its interest in not condemning the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So the minister commented that supporting Ukraine is the only choice for India to become the true Vishwa Guru. This is the views, this is all the views given by the Ukraine's first deputy minister, not my views. Now, the article is saying that this is not entirely the truth. This is not entirely the truth. See, India in the past also has been criticized for the choices that it has made. For example, in the past, it has been said that, see, India was earlier critical of the US's actions or US's invasion in Vietnam. Also, India has criticized the Anglo-French invasion of Egypt. Okay, when the Egypt has nationalized the Suez Canal, then also the Anglo-French invasion of Egypt was criticized by the India. At that point of a time, also it was said that India is criticizing USA, England, France, but why it is not criticizing the USSR in what USSR is doing in Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Afghanistan? Fine, that is something that has been there. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that as we talk about the India, so when we talk about India, India always takes a stand. Okay, India's stance that it is taking, it flows from the ancient wisdom of India, that India always advocates the worldwide application towards the welfare of the planet, welfare of the people. Now understand this particular thing. India is not the only country which is pursuing its interest. USA has been the country which always has pursued its interest and has many number of times have shown a kind of a hypocrisy as well. For example, when we talk about USA, it always advocates democracy, but at the same time it has supported many of the unpleasant dictators. Okay, in the unpleasant dictators in the Africa, in the Middle East. Moreover, we also see this particular thing, that the USA has also indirectly supported the apartheid, that is the discrimination on the color that was going on the South Africa. Okay. Now, when we talk about the Indian tradition, guys, India wants to become a spiritual democracy. India always celebrates its diversity, harmony with the nature, and India always have been the one who have preached the morality. There is no dispute in that. There is no dispute in that particular thing. So, but at the same time, India also have certain realistic interests also. Okay, so criticizing India, that India, if wants to be the Vishwa Guru, only has to support Ukraine, it is not entirely a correct thing. Fine, this is all about it. Now, moving to the next article, malaria said to be notifiable disease across India, even as case shows a decline. Now, basically, guys, what this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, GS paper number 2, GS paper number 2 issues related to health. Now, see, guys, when we talk about malaria, first of all, some basic information. What is malaria? Malaria is a parasitic infection which is caused by Plasmodium parasite. Plasmodium parasite. And this particular Plasmodium parasite is transmitted in the humans by the bite of Anopheles mosquito. So Anopheles mosquitoes, they transmit the Plasmodium parasite into the humans, which causes malaria infection. Now guys, whenever a disease is there, see, a disease can be a notified disease and a disease can be a non-notified disease. Notified disease are those disease which have to be reported the moment a person got infected by that particular disease. Now see this particular thing, that many diseases are there which are notified disease. For example, TB. So if a person had got infected TB, that has to be notified to the agencies at the state as well as at the union who are responsible for the TB. Now, up till now, when we talk about the malaria, malaria was not a notified disease in pan India. Why? Because guys, there were many of the regions in India, for example, Bihar, Andaman and Nicobar Island, Meghalaya, they actually did not notify this particular disease. It means it was not compulsory in these particular states to report the malaria cases. But now the Bihar, Andaman, Nicobar, Meghalaya, they are in a process to put this particular disease in a notified disease category. And with this, the malaria will become a notified disease in the entire country. Now, why this particular thing is being done? Because the government has taken a vision to be malaria free by 2027 and to eliminate the malaria by 2030. And when we talk about the malaria, guys, many of the cases of the malaria, they do come from Bihar, Andaman, Nicobar Island, Meghalaya. So basically, declaring the disease as a notified disease by these states is actually a very important aspect. Now, when we talk about India, guys, India also is a high burden country with respect to the malaria, because guys, moisture, humidity, which are very much helpful in the moisture, high temperature, they actually are very much conducive to the growth of mosquitoes. And when the growth of mosquitoes will be conducive, malaria will be easily transmittable in that particular country. So therefore, India also has a very high burden of disease, disease of malaria. Moreover, when we talk about the malaria, malaria is not only a health issue, it is also a socio-economical issue as well. Why? Because majority of the malaria cases, the fatality, mortality in the malaria happens into the poor families who cannot afford the mosquito nets, or the families who are not living in sanitary conditions. They are the largely infected in that. And India has a very high burden of the malaria, but the malaria cases are going down. India witnessed 85% decline in malaria cases and deaths between 2015-22. Okay, so the cases are going down, but still we are trying to ensure that there is complete elimination of malaria by 2030. Okay, the next article, Bangladesh lists out its priority for Indo-Pacific. Now guys, actually what this article is all about, see, around the world, we see this particular thing. Around the world, we see this particular thing, that the countries are coming out with their Indo-Pacific policies. India has its own Indo-Pacific policy. Recently, when the France came out with the Indo-Pacific policy, USA through the quadrilateral security dialogue is very much active into the Indo-Pacific region. Now, what has happened? Bangladesh also has come out with its Indo-Pacific priority or its Indo-Pacific policy. Now, the Bangladesh, now guys, see this thing. There is a common template that every country will be using. Rule-based international order, free and uninterrupted movement of trade. Every country, be it US, be it France, be it India, they say that in Indo-Pacific, they want to ensure a rule-based order. They want to ensure the freedom of navigation. They want to ensure the uninterrupted movement of the trade. This is something that India has said. Now, the Bangladesh has come out with the document that is Bangladesher Indo-Pacific Roop Rekha. This is the Indo-Pacific outlook of Bangladesh. Now guys, in this particular capacity, Bangladesh is going to support the USA, Japan, and these countries' agenda to ensure Indo-Pacific that it stays a region of rule-based order. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that China actually criticizes all these particular developments. China says that all the Indo-Pacific policies, all the Indo-Pacific frameworks were nothing but an attempt to target China. All this is nothing but an alliance that is being formed against the China. Now, when we talk about the Bangladesh, guys, Bangladesh always has a very close relations with the China as well. At the same time, there is a lot of infrastructural investments also that are there in the Bangladesh. But at the same time, Bangladesh also shares a very special relation with India. Now, as Bangladesh is coming out with this Indo-Pacific policy, it seems that Bangladesh is now joining is getting aligned more with the vision of the Quad countries, that is the quadrilateral security dialogue countries. Within Quad, we have India, Japan, Australia, and USA. So Bangladesh is also getting aligned with that, which is a good thing for the grouping. That is all about it. And now moving to the next article. Sorry, the mains practice question for today. So question, what do you understand by the wet bulb temperature? Discuss why does the wet bulb temperature matter. So this will be a GS paper number 3 as well as GS paper number 1 also. So question can be asked, 10 marker question. So that is all guys about it, about this particular session, and with this we come to an end to the today's session guys. So I hope that you are able to understand this and I hope that you are getting some utility out of it. So that is all guys for the today. Thank you so much.